Hello everyone and welcome to the Analyst Pro. I want to thank Jason Luckhardt, the head of NAI Harcourts Commercial Division, for inviting us to speak to you and this Australian group of commercial real estate professionals. I'm Todd Kuhlmann. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I've been in commercial real estate since 1991. I ran a Wall Street finance company from 1995 to 2009. I became a CCIM designee in 1999, and I'm a CCIM 101 and 104 instructor. I was also vice president of the CCIM Technology Group in 2009-2010, and in 2011 I started a company called CRE Tech for Commercial Real Estate Technology, and I have worked in that company since 2011 to create our flagship software application called TheAnalyst PRO, which is what we're going to go through with you in this brief segment today. The Analyst Pro really combines several different sophisticated financial and investment analysis tools. So we have investment analysis and lease analysis tools, which I'll get into very briefly with you today. But it's very sophisticated, almost on the level of an Argus institutional underwriting capability. We're going to actually go through a sample property that Jason and his cohort Phil sent over to me to analyze, and I took that information. I'm going to show you how we put together a whole commercial package on that. We also add in some of the best demographic analysis available through our partnership with a company called Esri. Esri is one of the world's largest demographers, and for Australia we're actually looking at expanding our demographic analysis base for Australian demographics. We've already secured the demographics, and we've been working and talking with Jason about some of the market down there and how the demographics would help that market. So we're looking at that possibility of enhancing the Analyst Pro specifically for the Australia market as well. We add in the fact that the Analyst Pro is fast and it's simple to use. Combining all of that is really what our mission and vision at the Analyst Pro was. Take something that takes some complicated, sophisticated analysis, but yet make it very simple to implement, allow for you to go in and run an analysis very, very quickly. We've also added the ability to create very comprehensive offering memorandums. We call it the Commercial Package Pro tool within the Analyst Pro. And I'll be demonstrating how to create very quickly a full commercial real estate package within the Analyst. We have over 20 tools in the Analyst application. Our analysis reports includes investment analysis, lease analysis, where you can compare up to 5 leases side by side, lease versus own analysis, loan amount analysis, and another tool we created called the target cap rate analysis tool. As you can see, this works on all your platforms. So it'll work on the web-based platform, on any computer that you have with any browser, as well as your iPhone, iPad, and Android devices. In addition to the analysis reports, we also have property reports, including our exclusive commercial property tour and rating. Buyer reps and tenant reps find this tool very valuable when going and showing up to 10 properties to a client. That client can actually rate the properties, and it builds a sophisticated report for the client when you complete that tour with all their notes, pictures, and the rating and financials for that particular property. In the United States, we offer the demographic risk analysis. We also have demographic analysis and a property location report. Property location report's a simple tool, usually used with your mobile device, smartphone device, where you can go out, just take a picture of the property, and using Google Maps will actually geocode and give an address for that property and build a simple little 2-page report that you can use to prospect for that particular property. We've integrated several calculators, including a mortgage calculator, cap rate, cash on cash, gross rent multiplier calculator, time value of money calculator, IRR MPV calculators, and of course for the United States we have a 1031 exchange calculator in case you're doing transactions here in the US. We have different mapping tools that will work globally, including Australia, obviously. Measuring tools, area measurement tools, aerial and location map reports, and real estate glossary. Our measuring tools are fully compliant with the metric system, and we are working right now to have our other tools, including the investment analysis and commercial package pro tools, also be fully converted over to the metric system. What I'll be demoing to you today will be the Imperial square footage system, but in June of this year, June of 2019, we will be introducing the capability of entering metric, which I know is very important to international countries and Australia. We also include in the Analyst what I call website lead generation widgets. There are widgets that you can put on your website. So this is HTML code you can actually put on your website to generate leads. You can put a mortgage calculator, a simplified investment analysis calculator, a lease analysis calculator, all right on your website. These calculators can also be branded for your company, and the reason they're lead generators is because when somebody comes to your website, fills out one of these forms, they have to put their name, email, phone number in. It will send them a PDF report with your logo and contact information on that report of that analysis, and it will also send you a copy of that report as well as their full contact information, name, email, and address. So really coming in and looking at the top tool within the Analyst Pro is what we call our Commercial Package Pro. This is where we're combining our investment analysis tool. You can do a lease analysis. It includes the demographic analysis and as well as an aerial and annotation. That's what I'm going to be demonstrating for you. We have a training center on our main homepage or dashboard page of the Analyst Pro. We go through different training programs, and one of the latest training programs that we have available is to come in and look at the disposition cap rate analysis and predict future cap rates as well as calculate future sales price on a property. So it becomes very, very beneficial. As I mentioned, the Analyst works on all of your devices, iPhone, iPad devices. It's going to work on Android phone and tablet devices, as well as any computer connected to the internet. You can do a 7-day free trial of the Analyst Pro. You can go to TheAnalystPRO.com and start that free trial. And again, it will work completely in Australia and globally. We have many people around the United States, around Canada, as well as South Korea, China, and many countries around the globe using the Analyst Pro. With that, I want to take a sample property that Phil Grant sent over to me. Phil is the Director and Commercial Leasing for the Harcourts, NAI Harcourts Pinnacle office. And so I want to thank Phil and, like I said before, thank Jason for giving us opportunity to do this analysis on this property. At this time, I'm going to close out of this PowerPoint presentation and let's go into the Analyst Pro. So we're going to build this live with you, and you can see in real time what it will take to create a full commercial real estate package on a property, including the financial analysis on that property. So when I'm on the dashboard of the Analyst Pro, I'll select up here on Package Pro. In Package Pro, I'm going to create a new package, and we're going to call this particular package the Eaton Hill Shopping Center. So Eaton's Hill Shopping Village. And I'm going to create a new folder here, and we're going to call this my NAI Harcourts folder, and I'll save that. So we just created a new folder for our inputs and for our package. I'm going to create new Package Pro. The property name, Eaton Hill Shopping Center. And I believe the property was built about 22 years ago, so I'm going to put in here 1997. But full disclaimer on this, the information I was provided, I didn't have all of the year built date on it. So we're going to use this as a sample demonstration, and then I'll let Phil give you more information specifically on the Eaton Hills Shopping Village that he has listed for sale. The address of this property, I'm just going to copy and paste it here, is on 1-5 Maryland Terrace. That is in Eaton's Hill, and we'll just put Australia, and I believe the postal code is QLD 4037. The approximate purchase price or asking price of this property is $5,585,000. The land size, again, right now we have land size available in square feet, acres, and hectares. We are adding square meters to this in the next 30 days. So right now what I've done is I've converted the square meters that were on Phil's property offering memorandum, and I'm going to change that into square feet just for this particular sample analysis, but please know we're going to have square footage in there soon. Or I'm sorry, square meters in there very soon for you. And the building area is 14,284 square feet. Once I press the apply button, what it's going to do is it's going to actually geocode the exact location of where this property is at. And again, we're using Google Maps for this, so we can geocode any location in the world. And so here you'll see the Eaton Hills Shopping Village, and this is the correct location for the property. Next up, I'm going to add my photos and notes that I want to include in my commercial package. So I'm going to select on Upload Photo. I'm going to go to my photos library here, and I'm going to upload some of the photos that Phil provided me on this particular property. Because we base this on a very easy to use template system, I'm going to go through and crop those photos. Our system automatically will go through, crop the photos just exactly where they need to be cropped in order for them to appear perfectly on that report. And again, on our template-based system. There's multiple, in fact, we have 5 different templates that you can use, which I'll show you here briefly. And I'm just going to upload a few more photos so that we can create this nice package. You see how quickly and easily I can come in, select the photo, crop the photo. I'm doing this in real time. There's no pausing my video in between doing this. And so the system is very, very fast. And I think I got one more photo here I want to add. And I'll open it, crop it, and select Done. Next, I'll enter my notes on the property. Now, this is really the property description that we're going to have, and I'm going to just copy and paste the property description that Phil had in his original package on this property. We have up to 1,000 characters that I can put in my property description, plenty for most investment analysis reports. I'm going to select on investment analysis. Again, we're adding in the demographic analysis for Australia at a later time. And I'll also select, we're going to put the area and location map into this particular package. If you're working a land transaction or a transaction that doesn't have a investment income, you can skip the investment analysis part. If you're working a lease transaction, you could create a lease report and have a lease analysis done and include it in that report as well. I'll press the Continue button. Next up, we're going to be entering the investment analysis information on this particular property. Now, I already created an investment analysis report in the investment analysis tool for the Analyst Pro. So I'm going to go and open that particular saved report that I've already created for the Eaton Hills Shopping Center. Let's go through some of the inputs that I made for that particular property based on the information that I received from Phil. First off, we're going to project a purchase date for the property. We'll just say we're going to buy this in June. Next up, I'm going to enter the income portion of the property. So on the income side, I can enter a total potential income on the property, or I can enter actual lease details for each individual tenant in that property. Entering the lease details for each tenant has some advantages. It's actually going to create a rent roll for me. It's also going to do an analysis on my tenant rollover. How much of this shopping center is going to have leases expiring or rolling in a specific year? I enter each lease in detail, and I'm just going to go into the Eaton Hills dental lease so you can get an idea of how I've entered this. I start with the tenant name, the lease start date, and the lease term. Also, the rentable area, currently in square feet, but again, we're going to be enhancing that to square meters, and the annual rent. I backed into the annual rent amount and gave an average annual rent for all the tenants, but if you knew the actual annual rent, you could enter that there, as well as the rental escalation for each unit. If this is a net lease property, or if the tenant reimburses expenses, you could select those from the custom tenant reimbursements as well. This is a net leased property, so I'm going to select all of the categories that can be reimbursed by the tenant based on their size that they occupy, so their pro rata share. Also, we do a lease rollover analysis on the property, and you can put in the probability that they'll renew that lease and what the rent would be if they renewed, or if you lease to a new tenant, what the new market rate would be. I'm going to press the Save button on this to save those lease inputs. Now, again, I did this for all 7 tenants. This probably took me the most amount of time. The total amount of time it took me to enter all of the financial analysis information was about 15 minutes. And that was with me going in and identifying that information and where that information was at. So again, very quick. This is quick to market. Each section of the Analyst Pro, each tool and each section has full help available. So if you want to learn more about how to enter those lease details that I just went through with you very, very quickly, I actually have a 15-minute video that goes through details of how to enter specific leases in the Analyst Pro. Once you put 1 or 2 leases in, it becomes very second nature and very easy to enter. I'll put 0 as other income on this property, and I'll press continue. Next is our vacancy and expense section, where I put in a 5% vacancy. And because this was a net lease, I put in 0 expenses. But I could actually put in the year 1 expenses and increase them a certain amount, or I can enter line item expenses and go line by line for each expense on that property, entering the amount of the expense and percentage increase, the total amount per year, or if it's a percentage of gross operating income. It's very common in the United States for, let's say, property management fee to be charged based on the percentage of gross operating income as well. All of these expense categories are available to you, but you can also customize any of the expense categories and save them as your default expense categories, making it very, very easy to go in and customize your particular transaction. Next, I put in some loan terms. I put in some loan terms that we could get here in the United States, so these would have to be adjusted for your particular area and region. But I put in a 75% loan at a 4.5% rate. 25-year amortization and a 10-year term with 1 point paid to the lender to obtain that loan. Press the continue button and we have our sales price cap rate. Again, this is the disposition cap rate when we go to sell that property. I did a whole 1-hour training video on how to analyze and predict what your future sales price cap rate would be. I entered 6.25% on this property and I press the continue button. Here I can select the different reports I want to include in my commercial package. So I could check a 5-year before tax report, 5-year after tax, 10-year before, and 10-year after tax report. I'm going to do the 5-year after tax report, and let's just add in the 10-year before tax report. Tax situations outside of the United States. We've actually customized this where you can go into the default settings and enter your particular federal income and local income tax rates, as well as the tax on appreciation and depreciation of the property. From the information I could gather, your tax on appreciation would be, or capital gain, if you want to call it, would be about 30% in Australia. I hope I'm close or right on that. Also, you can enter the depreciation life. Being a commercial building, I again researched that, and it looks like your commercial depreciation life in Australia is 40 years, so you can customize that. This is fully customizable for any international jurisdiction where you could include the interest deduction, loan cost deductions. You don't obviously have a U.S. mid-month commission in Australia, so I said no on that. And then the mortgage calculation you'll see is defaulted to USA. We might as well just say that's defaulted to the globe, except for Canada, because Canada is the only one that does different mortgage calculations than the rest of the world. So I can save these settings, and you can save those as your default settings once you enter those defaults, and you can use them for future analysis on other properties as well. So that's it for entering the financial analysis section of our commercial package, and you see I get a nice check mark that we've completed that. Next, I'm going to create an aerial and location map report. You can make this a very extensive annotated image or a pretty simple annotated image. So I'm going to come in here and make a fairly simple annotated image. I'm going to select a shape. I'm going to select an arrow here so that we can show where our subject property is. I think I'm going to select yellow on that and just add shape. So I can add my shape to this map, I can drag that around, I can angle it. Again, just very simple way to come in and make an annotated map. If you had icons for different retailers in this property or different people around, you could add actually little icon images. Like I have a little Starbucks icon image here, so I could add those to the map as well. I'm going to add some text on here, so I'm going to call this again the Eaton Hills. So I'm going to say Eaton's Hills. And I'm just going to make this a 20-point font, make it bold, and I think red will do. So I'll just add this text. Once I add the text, I can drag that text where I want it. I'm just going to overlay it on our little arrow here, rotate it, and put it exactly where I want it. Now I could get a little bit more complicated. I could highlight and put a boundary line around this property. But for time purposes, I'm going to keep it simple, move on to the next step, but you can go through and add as many annotations to that map as you want. Now we can include into our package basically a map. Where is this property located? It's going to show where it's located in Australia. It's also going to show this annotated view. If I want to reorder my map, I can simply drag and drop which ones I want. If there was a Google Street View image available, I could add that Street View image as well. Click on the Continue button. Now, if I want to, I can add additional attachments as well as my resume. My resume would be a default resume that I have already preloaded in my profile in TheAnalyst PRO. I'm going to unselect that because I don't think Phil wants my resume on his property. But I can upload other files as well. And so Phil had a couple other files that he sent me on this property. One of them was a disclaimer document, so it was a PDF disclaimer. And so I'm just going to add that. This will actually add to my table of contents too. So this name here that I've given it will be included in my table of contents. He also had in his package an expression of interest form. So I'm going to add that to our package as well. So it's automatically put into the table of contents and included in our entire commercial property package. Next, I'm going to select on the layout of this report. So I want to reorder things a little bit. First off, that disclaimer, I'm going to put it at the end in the expression of interest form. I'm going to put both of those toward the end. But I may want that aerial report to be up here with the photos. So you can see I just dragged and dropped. This is my package now. It's going to include a cover page, table of contents. It's going to include the property information and property description that we entered, all the property photos we added. It's going to have that aerial location map, including the annotation map that I had, my 5-year after-tax and 10-year before-tax reports that I selected, and then those additional PDF documents that I uploaded to include in my package. I'll press on the Continue button. This is where we have the 5 different templates. You can select the template that you'd like to choose. I selected the Anvil template for the NAI. It has kind of that Anvil logo, so I think it goes well with the NAI logo. And then I also entered the NAI hex color code. I did these in my default settings so that I don't have to select this every time I create a new package. It's something you can do one time. Press on the Continue button. Now I'm ready to create that report. So I've given that report a name. It defaults to the name that I entered. I can also select to print offset, what we call bind offset, where if I'm going to print this out on a duplex printer or send it to a printer front and back, it will actually shift each page aside, so it'll give a longer margin or wider margin on each side so that I can bind that and it'll look really beautiful. For our purposes, I will not select the bind offset print ready, but I can always come back here and just regenerate and recreate that report instantly to have that completed. Now this report's going to take about 5 minutes to generate and build. Right now we're pulling in all that map information. We're doing all the analysis on those calculations. And then what will happen is that report will be emailed to me as well as come up and show up on my dashboard of my system. So it's going to be saved in my completed packages. It'll be on my dashboard and will be emailed to me as soon as that report is completed. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard and see if it's completed. Here is our completed package pro. So I'm going to open up this Eaton Hills completed package. You can see I put in the NAI Harcourts as my logo as part of my default settings. So that logo will show on all my properties. Once Phil and Jason get set up on the TheAnalyst PRO, their contact information will show up in their particular account. And the other great thing is I can now share all the inputs that I just used to create this report, I can share this with Jason, I can share this with Phil, and they can share it with anyone else that has the Analyst Pro. They can make any changes they want to this package, they can rerun it and have their contact information on this particular package. As I go to the next page, you'll see the table of contents. Now remember, this is a template, so it built all of this for you just instantly, where we have that property info and disclaimer, the description, the photos, the aerial reports. These are also links, so if I press on one of these, it will take me right to that report section when I'm looking at the digital PDF version. As I scroll down, you'll see we have the picture and the property information that we had entered, the property description that we had put in on the property, the photos that we put and loaded in the property. Again, nicely laid out on this template-based system. Now we have that area location map. So I had the area location map. I came in, it shows where that property is located in that particular region and the country. It's also going to show that annotated map view that we just completed and an aerial image. Now we get into the financial analysis. So the first section here is going to be our 5-year after-tax analysis. It's going through and calculating based on the mortgage data and my initial investment what I would purchase that property for and how much I would have to put down as a down payment based on the acquisition cost, the first mortgage, and all the fees. Then it does a calculation based on the income of that property for each year, and it actually will total up all of the leases that I entered. So all 7 leases are now combined and totaled up onto this particular report, making a very sophisticated financial analysis for you. So this shows the cash flow each year for 5 years. This is the rent roll that we created on that particular property. As I scroll down, we also will have that tenant occupancy graph, so it automatically builds a graph showing what percentage each tenant occupies, and a nicely organized graph. It'll show that rate per square foot for each suite number. So I put in suites 1 through 7. I use the same rate per square foot for each tenant, but if you had separate rates per square foot, then this graph will graph out which tenant is paying a higher rate per square foot and which is a lower. And of course, like I said, we're converting that to square meters in the next 30 days. This is a detail of our tenant income profile. So it shows each tenant, the income from each tenant, the reimbursements for each tenant. If there is a rollover, meaning that tenant's going to vacate, we also will show the rollover vacancy and any rental concessions that you may have for those particular tenants as well. Next up, we're going to show the lease expiration rollover. So this is going to show which tenants expire in each year and what the total size of those tenants are going to be and the percentage of the building that expires. So you can see here in year 4, we have 3,552 square feet going to be expiring with these 3 tenants. So those leases are set to renew. As I scroll down, this is my sales proceeds analysis. We actually look and say, what if we sold this year 1, sold this year 2, sold this year 3? What would my return be? What would my sales proceeds before and after tax be? And then we can calculate the return, including the internal rate of return for those. Next is our investment measures. So this is going to actually look at all the investment measurement performance for this property, including our LTV and debt service coverage ratio calculations, our cash on cash before and after tax, our unleveraged yield on the property, meaning without financing, what's the yield, and our before tax and after tax equity yield with financing on that property. So it's the IRR with financing. We then go through and graph these out. So we've got our cash on cash return before and after tax graph. We've got our optimal period to own the property. So since we're analyzing this to say, what if we sold it year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? This is actually going to show you on a graph exactly what the return would be on this property if you sold it that particular year. And then this is one of my favorite graphs, impact of leverage analysis, having spent 14 years in commercial real estate finance, showing the impact of financing on the property. And this would show if I own this property for 5 years, I have what's called a positive leverage on this property, where I've increased my return on my equity based on getting financing for that particular investment. We do that on a before and after tax basis. All of this we created in about 20-30 minutes using the Analyst Pro and the Commercial Package Pro. Same thing is done on the 10 years. You can see the 10 years sideways because we want to fit all 10 years of the cash flow analysis model on that report, and it's going to show us a lot of the same impact for that particular lease rollover analysis. You can see over the 10-year period which leases are rolling over, what my return would be over a 10-year period, and what my optimal period to own that property would be, again, over a 10-year period. Here's the additional forms we put in that Phil provided us, including that disclaimer form with their information and contact information, and then that expression of interest form that they created specifically for this property. So with that, that concludes the Commercial Package Pro. In this case, a multi-page commercial package, specifically, I think it's 32, 33 pages specifically on this property. We generated in about 20 minutes. And we did this together, by the way. All right, with that said, I'm going to put back up our website. I again want to reach out and thank Jason, thank Phil, both of you from NAI Harcourts in Australia, for allowing me to put this presentation together and present it to this entire group.